All right, Lenny, man. What's up, brother? How are you feeling today?
I'm actually doing better. I had a rough start this morning, like we spoke about a little bit, but I'm happy with my decisions that I made to pull myself out of it. Like I said, I went for a walk with the dog, did a little meditation, apologized to people that I affected with my actions because I was kind of I let my emotions take over. So I'm doing better. I feel good about my decision to take accountability for myself in that situation and recognize it and move forward. So yeah. How
Good,
about
man.
you?
Good, man. Man, I'm doing all right, man. Difficult, like we talked, man. Difficult morning, difficult start off, but that's a part of life. What I've learned is that every action does have a consequence, and being able to learn from that your actions is a key point in life. Any situation that happens to us, we could take it one way or the other. We could take it in the space of why did this happen to me? I can't believe this happened to me. Why me? Or we could possibly process it in the space of, okay, what occurred? How did this affect me? How can I learn from this? What area can I learn from this? And it's something as small as me eating too much watermelon. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned areas that I need to improve on and learning how to, even have self control in certain spaces. So, every situation in life, there's an opportunity for you to learn from. And even with your morning, there's an opportunity for you to learn and grasp some concepts on it and kind of move forward. So, those are the kind of things we're going to be working towards today as we begin our journey. So, first, I want to start off by, just setting the groundwork, learning more and just hearing more about the structure of today's session. Um, I want to start off by letting you already know you've already done a wonderful thing by even just recognizing the need for or the need for life coaching and what you can pull from it. By naming the fact that you want to have more clarity, emotional regulation, and structure. Those are very, pivotal features and pivotal pillars for life. So, um, even with today, what do you hope to walk away with today?
Um, with our meeting or just from like what I've learned from what today I just really just set the groundwork for the next 12 weeks. Get a good understanding of how life coaching works. I've never done anything like this. I've only done therapy and things like that, and a lot of times I'm on my own when it comes to um, breaking things down, I guess, if you will, and recognizing. So, before we started recording, we had a little conversation. I appreciate the words that you had that kind of help solidify those thoughts in my mind that I am on the right track, if you will. So yeah, I just want to get a good feel and grasp for the groundwork that we're about to set, and I want to make sure that I'm um, keeping myself accountable. I know I've been using that word a lot, but I really just that's what all I can think of is that I want to make sure that I'm not stepping away from what my ultimate goal is, and that is to just to be a better human. And so you know little steps I'll take. I mean anything I can get, man. You know, but yeah, really
Sounds
just
good.
yeah.
Now go ahead, finish up.
No, I just yeah, that's really it. I want to I want to make sure that that I understand everything clearly, and that there's no opportunity for excuse in my head, if that makes sense. Because that's important. I've always been that guy that can, again, I'm good at walking the walk, or talking the talk. Excuse me. I'm not good at walking the walk, and I'm I'm again I've completely changed my life this week with the new diet, no drinking, no like I quit smoking pot, and I would just I'm really just changing things up completely, and I'm committed to this. So it's the first time in my life where I can really say that from my heart. So
It's good, man. That's good. That's something to celebrate. That's something to acknowledge. And what I really appreciate about it is even, at the stage of life that you're in, recognizing that there's still an opportunity to change. There's still an opportunity to get better. I'm not saying that you're an old geezer or nothing like that, so don't get that thought in. But I'm saying, but what happens in our life is when we get stuck in spaces, even 20s, 30s, 40s, where we feel as if I can never be any different. This is who I am. As a therapist, I've come across so many people who have been in this space of, well, this is who I am, and I'm not going to change. And to know that, even in your stage of life right now, you even recognize the significance and the possibility to change and still have hope is all ideal spaces that we would want in that I would look for in a client, also that I would look for in a client through therapy and in a client in life coaching. Like, even with this whole ordeal today, getting on today, you're on your phone instead of being on your laptop, and being able to be in this space. There were so many things that you had to pivot, but there were so many things that you could have just been like, forget it. I can't. Like, there's no reason. The universe is telling me no. I just don't need to do it. But instead, fighting through it. Instead, saying, no, I am going to be different. And I don't care what the hurdle is. I don't care if we got to talk through picture messaging. I'm going to make sure that we do this. I'm going to make sure we move forward. So, I commend you for that, brother, and I'm ready to, continue to walk this journey. So, one of the things you talked about was just learning how to, you want today to set the groundwork, and part of the groundwork for me is learning more about your motivation to the journey now. And I want you to reflect back on your form that you filled out, and just provide me with in your own words, what motivated you to start this journey, even if you don't understand life coaching fully. And then after that, what I'll do is I'll give my explanation of what life coaching looks like and what it is.
Well, my motivation comes from my childhood, I guess. It, I don't want to say I was loved. I always, I felt as if I was loved, but I also had, some pretty traumatic things happen, like a lot of us do, and I let that kind of guide me throughout my life, and thought, up until recently that the things that I knew where I was good at were what defined me, and now with three raising queens, man. I mean, I really just I came to a point where I just realized it was time to stop saying "do what I say," not what I do, if that makes sense. And honestly, talking to you set me over the edge. Like doing that podcast with you that I want to release set me over the edge. I'm just so proud you walked this earth, man. And I'm just like, you breathe life into people, and I just can't. I mean, that really just made me say, you know what, I can do this. I can make this happen. And so, that's what's motivating me. It's just I want a timeline for my girls to see, hey, this is, your dad wasn't the greatest guy his whole life. You know what I mean? But he did the best he could to be the best he could.
Mm. No, that's beautiful, man. And I take your words to heart. I definitely appreciate you, even pouring that in, man. It's a blessing for us to even cross paths the way that we did. And it took some time, a lot of work, a lot of busy hours, but we were able to still, align and have that conversation, man. It was definitely transformative. So, I thank you for that. Um, so let's get a quick overview of what life coaching is. If you want to look it up online, because I always like to give the group definition that you read online, but then also give my perspective of what it is. I put it in my own words. So, it will say life coaching is a structured, goal-oriented partnership between a coach and a client, focused on helping the client create actionable strategies to achieve personal and professional goals. Unlike therapy, which often looks at healing from the past, life coaching is future focus centered on where you are now and where you want to be. So that was a beautiful definition. In my own perspective of it, I definitely agree. It's accountability. That's the big word. That's the big word. Even if you want to write that out as your word for the rest of this year, it's a space of having someone there who can help you reach those goals and make it real. A lot of times we have a lot of vision of what we want and how we want to move and what we want to do and what we want to be, but we struggle with setting clear goals on getting to that point. We struggle with holding ourselves accountable and moving in that space, which causes us to be in the same circle, the same cycle over and over again. Where we come up with an idea, we're ready to do it, and then something comes up, one or two things happen, and then we begin to doubt ourselves, doubt our ability, and you don't go back again. But the goal here is it first off, it challenges you to be willing to receive this work. And it also challenges you to be able to really hear back honest and raw feedback that you may have been afraid to hear this whole time. But now we're in a space of, no, this is what we need to hear. This is what I need to get to. And, that's what I'm here to do, man. I'm here to provide clarity and vision. I'm here to hold you accountable. I'm here to help, with self-discovery. Like I mentioned before, even today with the writing of the prompts, I hope that you discovered something in yourself today with the turbulence that you had with trying to log on, trying to get moving forward. Hey, I can do hard things. I can get through these things and move on the other path. My goal is also to help with providing strategy and action. Like, helping you map out what does it look like to create an action plan. How do you create actionable steps in order to reach the next goal? A lot of times we don't know what the steps in between are because we haven't sat down and really processed it. So that's what I'm here to do, is not only to hold you accountable to getting to your goals, but also make sure that they're actionable small steps that you can walk towards this path with and not have to worry about leaping and jumping to get there. So, that's just a quick view of life coaching in itself. Um, Once again, then also what I also want to do is compare it to therapy. What life coaching is. Like I said, we focus on future, focus on goal setting, building structure and habit, and helping you grow individually. Therapy on the other end, typically to ingrain some of those things, but sometimes it works towards past healing, mental health treatment, processing trauma, and diagnosis disorders, and helping people in emotional distress. That's not the space that we're in this capacity. Now, with me being a therapist, what I would do is if I sense those things and hear those things, and I would definitely give a recommendation. Hey, brother, recommend you go back to your therapist to talk about this, or I recommend you focus on these things because this can be beneficial in your growth. But when it comes down to actually doing that work, that's not what this space will be about. It'll be about the goals. It'll be about structure. It'll be about helping you grow as an individual. Any questions about that?
No, not at all. I appreciate that. That's very clear, yeah, that's exactly what I'm needing. I feel very comfortable in my two spaces. I have two very very good therapists, a couples counselor with my ex partner, and then my personal counselor. So yeah, yeah, and anything you see, obviously, I want to hear about it because that's it's I don't look at any of that as being a dig or a bad thing. You know what I mean? I'm trying to stay. Well, I'm not trying to. I am open to everything. I mean, I can take the meat and spit out the bones kind of deal. So yeah, I appreciate that explanation, and I'm ready. Yeah. So
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, we talked about that. Now, based on your goals, I want to spend a little bit of time on that. Talk about time management. What's the struggle with time
well, I'm realizing now with just the new doctor and with therapy that like I have ADHD, which I'd never recognized before. I just kind of thought I was scatterbrained or hyper, you know. I'm a very high energy kind of a guy, you know. Now I realize that it's not so much me. Like I want to get a task completed, but I'll get halfway through a task and then another task will become more important. So for me, what I would like to do is just, and have been doing, is focusing on one thing for a certain amount of time and then breaking if I need to break and go play a video game or go work on a car or go clean up or so, I'll do that. But I give myself a certain amount of time now. I'm giving myself just a break. Like right before we were to jump on, I was doing some writing prompts and I started getting a little heavy in my mind. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go break. Went inside, gave my girls a kiss, you know, kind of hung out for a minute and then came right back out and got to it again. So that's what's important to me is allotting certain amounts of time to keep myself on task, if that makes sense.
No,
Um,
no, it definitely does. I don't know if I told you, but I was diagnosed with ADD. So I take medicine for it. Been Yeah, since I was, what, it's been about 15, 16 years now. No, actually, yeah, about 15, 16 years that I've been on it. And I recently got back on it within the past 3 years after I got my master's degree. I was just like, okay, I struggled through that master's degree with it, but now it's like, okay, now I'm moving into this building, this brand. I need to really focus. So I definitely understand that time management part. And what you said there is good. Breaking down your tasks into 45-minute increments, and then a 15, 20-minute break, and then getting back to it. That's one way to do things. And we'll today, like I said, it's just to get the groundwork. So I'm logging that in. We can definitely provide some stuff, some tools for the next point. Then the next part was emotional regulation. Talk about that.
I told you you're gonna make me cry every time, aren't
It's
you?
okay.
um, Brother, I'm just learning about this. I'm just learning. I mean, I'm never been a flight guy. I don't flight. I don't freeze. I fight, and you know, that's really detrimental on my family. It's
What does that look
detrimental.
like?
It looks like me just not being able to control my emotions, not knowing why I'm upset. You know, like this morning when this went down, like everything that went down, I didn't stop and think to myself like until later, like, do I have any control over this? Why am I letting this affect me this way? I didn't do any of those things. I went straight back to that kind of 15-year-old part of me that took care of my son. This is just wrong. And I'm really trying to differentiate between the two, the earlier version of myself and the version I have become and trying to become and the tools that I have now. And it's still a very, very tough thing for me to I've yet to be able to stop myself in mid emotion, if that makes sense. But I'm getting I'm getting a lot quicker at recognizing my behavior, taking accountability for my behavior to others and myself, and finding a way to combat that behavior. Like today, like I said, I went for a walk with the dog, which I've been doing every morning anyways, but I wasn't going to because all this stuff was going wrong. I was like, I gotta fix it. I can't fix it. I have no control over this right now. Go do what you're supposed to be doing, which is bettering myself. I walk every day with my dog for 30 minutes, you know, in the morning, and then I'm trying to do it at night. And unfortunately, that's something I probably need accountability for as well because I haven't done the nighttime walks because it's been 100 degrees, well, not 100, but 80, 89, 95 degrees already here, you know, and it's a big fluctuation in our parts of the, neck of the woods. So, um, I need accountability doing that. I need to definitely start doing that. But that's where I'm at is I want to get to a point where there is no more emotional, there's no emotions taking over. I'm able to I want to have the emotions. I want to be able to feel the emotions. I want to recognize them, but I do not want to react to them. I don't. I want to be able to. There's so many people I talk about this like poker players. They've got to be just. When I was playing poker, you cannot have any emotions. And I was able to do that. I was able to, at a table, I was able to just kind of keep myself, regulated and not, get too excited when I had a great hand or get too upset when I had a bad hand. Or it's the same kind of thing that I had to deal with this morning. And I really just want to get to a point where I can have that, where I rely on myself to handle it and not just let these things that I've learned you know, over 10, 20, 30 years of trauma, 40 years of trauma, you know what I mean? Like, so, and I think I think I'm getting better. I mean, I need to give myself some credit. I do think I'm getting better because I am recognizing, I am implementing, positive, changes, when it comes to that. So, ah, did I answer or not?
Oh no,
You know,
no, you definitely did, man. Once again, this is, and I'm glad that you're, taking time. I want you to take time to pour into it because it gives me opportunity to recognize, okay, hey, this is what we need to talk about. So anytime you see me like typing over here, I'm gathering my notes because there's certain things that's being said that I'm like, I want to go back in. Hey, this week when we start talking about time management, this is when I'm gonna plug in. Hey, you said this. This is what we need to work on. Next week, when we talk about emotional regulation, this is what we. So that's why I try to I'm listening, but I'm typing because everything you're bringing to me, I'm processing it, and we can definitely work towards that, towards those goals. So now everything you're talking about there is really good. You know, I'm hearing, I want to control my emotions. I don't want them to overthrow me, and cause me to, lose out or hurt those who love me, those who are there to support me. And I want to be able to, walk with those things and not allow it to, turn me into the Hulk. Let's say, the thing is about Hulk is I'm always angry and learning how to regulate those things versus being reactive to it and processing it. So definitely hear it. And then clarity of purpose.
well, I'm sorry, clarity and purpose.
Yeah. So one of your last goals was having clarity of your purpose. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, um, let's talk about that.
Well, that kind of is it kind of it is encapsulated with a few different things. I guess it's like, again, I think I've told you, and I don't want to repeat it that much because I feel like I keep putting it out in the universe. But I was good at three things my whole life, and that's what defined me. Now I'm kind of realizing, or not kind of, I realize that's not what defines me, and so I'm finding my purpose, if that makes sense. Like I know I'm a great dad. I don't. That's something that I'm very proud of. I love being around my girls. I love pouring into them. I love just spending time with them. It's like, um, in fact, I had someone come to me the other day and say, "Man, I took my daughter out for daddy-daughter date," and he came up to me, the guy I don't even know, and he says, "Man, it's just so good to see a father sitting there without his phone in his hand and just engaging and just having fun." And I was blown away. One, that somebody had the balls to say something like that, and two, that it was recognized, because I didn't even realize that was what I was doing. I was just trying to spend time with my girl, and so yeah, that's the clarity that I need, and and that's my purpose at this point, is to make them the best humans they can be. I know that there's, unfortunately, just because of what I have read in psychology today, I know there's already been damage done just because of the fluctuating relationship between uh, their mother and I, and which both of us are working on. I mean, it's not as if we're, it's a one-sided street. She's very, very intelligent and very, very aware, and very, very open to change, a betterment. So I guess my purpose, like, it really needs to be clarified. I mean, I don't necessarily feel like I have a path, if that makes sense. Um, uh, but I also don't feel like, I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second here. Come on, get up, bud. Uh, I also don't feel like, I mean, I don't have any feelings of worthlessness, if that makes sense. I mean, I know I have a lot to offer. I know but I feel like I could be tapping into more. I could be, I could be utilizing more of my skills and more of my already given talents, if you will, you know. So yeah, I need to marinate on that a little bit more, man. I feel like that's not. I feel like there's more there, you know. Yeah, I need to. I definitely need to. I need to revisit that because you know, like I said, I don't feel like I'm. It's not like I'm worthless. I know I'm not worthless. I have a lot to offer. I feel like I'm a good friend. I've made some really great connections with people. You know, uh, as far as like you know, like with my girls, I mean, you know, I'm already doing things with them that I wish, you know, had been done with me, which are great, you know, like it's just, you know, they're amazing little humans already, you know, and I want to think that's all me, but it's not, you know. But right now that my purpose is just to be a better man, you know, and I don't know what that looks like. So that maybe that's the clarity I need, you know. Um
Yeah,
so
it's good, man. It's good. I want to fast forward 3 years from now. 3 years from now, your life feels like everything that you talked about, those especially those main three subjects. Of course, there were more, but those were kind of main things that kept jumping out. Um, what are the top three things you see yourself doing or being? If everything is aligned,
just the three things I see myself doing: continuing to grow, number one, you know,
what does that look like?
therapy, you know, being able to recognize my strengths, and utilizing them without question, without even having a thought of whether or not it's correct or whether or not, you know, that for me that's what it would look like. Just being able to, you know, when something goes wrong in the morning, my emotions aren't the ones taking control. It's me immediately knowing, hey, I can do this. It's going to be okay. You know, confidence in myself. I'd like to raise my confidence. You know, I have a hard time accepting that I am um, a good person. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I think just, you know, being a person that can hold space for people in any situation, whether it's, you know, a personal relationship or you know, friendship, a work relationship, whatever. I want to be able to be that person that doesn't always want to fix things for people and just can actually hold space without being uncomfortable. You know,
Why does
that's what
that
it,
mean? Why does that mean a lot to you?
because so many people have done it for me before. It means so much for me. You know, um, I see how much it affects me when someone does that for me, and you know, as far as holding space and you know, and then as far as the emotional part of it, it's just it means a lot to me because I've had glimpses of what my day or my week or my month can go like when I am regulated and I'm not just unhinged. Um, you know, I see the benefits of being, you know, more organized. I see the benefits of being more open to change and willing to accept criticism, if you will. So you know, and I've never done it before, man. I'm a big, I'm a, you know, I think I told you this, like, you know, I what do I know? I don't know nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know a lot, but I don't know nothing. You know, and so growth to me is something that's just probably the number one thing on my list right now is just to never stop trying to get all the information I can. And you know, I think I'm lucky. You know, one thing that I hold dear to myself is that I believe that I'm very lucky to have the ability converse with just about anyone. Um, we've talked about this. You're 6'9", black man, and the guy, in the elevator, that still sticks with me. And it
Mm,
hits my head, and in my heart, because I feel that kind of same way. But I have that ability, to, like you, to be able to change their mind as soon as I open my mouth. You can have that thought about me or whatever. Yeah, oh man, he's loud or he's crazy or he's whatever. Fine. You want to have an intelligent conversation with me that we can keep I'm down. I can talk about the tough conversations. I can get into things, and I don't have a problem addressing the issues that I know are my problems. So if I'm putting that onto somebody, or I'm projecting an energy to somebody that's uncomfortable, I don't want to be that person. I want to be a better person, and I want to be a person that people don't have to question. You know, so yeah.
I like that, man. I like that. That's definitely inspiring, man. Before we land and wrap this up, I want to shift over to emotional triggers real quick, and I want to know what moments tend to take you off track, and how do you typically respond to them?
The biggest one that I can tell you right now is just um, wow, yeah. Anything that doesn't go my way. If I have a plan in my head, and and you know I mean, short of an emergency, like one of the girls got hurt, or there's a car accident, or those sort of things. Anything that doesn't go my way. I mean, I'm very childish in that manner. I believe that it's like, well, I had planned to do gardening all day, but now because this needs to happen, I got to stop doing this, and it gets me, and it may not be like the reaction I had this morning was very, very. I'm not proud of it because I've worked very hard to not do those things. But I was just, I was throwing papers around. I was just being really just like my 3-year-old acts sometimes when she doesn't get her toy from her sister or something. You know what I mean? Um, but that's the main thing. Something that doesn't go my way. If I perceive someone hurting my feelings, or if I perceive somebody trying um, you know to take over, if you will, you know, um, those trigger me. Yeah, they get me to a reaction, and the
So what I
majority
want you to
really true. You know what I mean? Like what I'm making up in my head. You know what I mean? So
No, what I want you to do though, for that, I want you to take that back to your therapist, and I want you to process specifically when did you lose control, or at what age did you feel like you lost control, and why are we struggling to grasp that now in life? A lot of times everything is connected. And I mentioned that before. Like I'm a marriage and family therapist associate, so I look at things from a family lens, and everything is connected. And a lot of times, the reason why we behave, or why we, get upset when we lose control, is because, through our life growing up, that was a space that we never had grasp of. I couldn't be myself. I couldn't act a certain way. I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. I couldn't do this. When I did it, I was either abused, or I was beaten, or something happened to me. And now that I'm an adult, now that I'm able to take care of myself, I will never allow myself to feel this way again. And that's a way of us protecting ourselves, but it could be in a detriment if we don't recognize the reasoning behind it and what caused it to be that. So that's just something, like I said, take to therapy. That's not so much about on this end. Um, but what I wanted to, pour into you now is a concept called emotional leadership.
I'm sorry, emotional leadership.
Yeah, emotional leadership. And that's the ability to empower yourself to choose how you respond to certain things. when you're feeling overwhelmed. Um, Being able, especially one who says, I don't like, I typically go off, or I typically am triggered when I don't have anything in control. Well, then there's one of the biggest things that you have full control over that you can grasp onto, and that's your emotions. So by changing that process of I'm losing control, and this is a result of it, by changing and reframing it to a point of I am going to hold on to my emotions. I'm going to lead these things. I'm not going to allow you to get me. And I'm going to choose how to respond when I'm feeling overwhelmed. So that's what I would challenge during difficult situations. Take on emotional leadership. I'm going to lead myself in this space, and I'm not going to allow myself to get overwhelmed. I'm not going to allow myself. Well, you're going to get overwhelmed, but I'm not going to allow myself to do things the way I did before. One of the spaces that you did it in, you did it today. Even today when you flew off on a handle for a little bit, but by taking leadership and recognizing, hey, I need to go walk my dog. I need to go get out this house. I need to get my mind off of it and come back to it. That's a level of emotional leadership, because you recognize that instead of staying in the house all day being pissed off and cursing and all of that, you recognize that, hey, I can't control the situation, but I can control how I respond to it. And right now, it's not conducive, or it's not in anybody's interest for me to continue to walk around like this. So let me remove myself from this area. Let me get my mind off of it. Let me, reset and then come back to it. So yeah, that's something that, I would recommend, even learning more about, but also just saying, I am going to lead myself emotionally. Like, this is my emotional leadership. And I'm going to obtain emotional leadership when things get overwhelming. So that's something that I how you feeling?
No, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, definitely grab that on, grab onto that.
Good, good,
Uh,
good. So what I want to do is also end by, giving an overview of what this was. So our sessions are going to consist of us having these conversations, processing things, breaking down each of these areas of improvement that we're talking about. We're going to start with the first three that we, talked about today: emotional regulation, time management, and hold on, what's my notes? Clarifying your purpose. Those are the first things that we're going to talk about. We're going to probably spend about a week each on each of these prompts, or 1 to 2 weeks on each of these prompts, probably 2 weeks to fully, process them. And then we'll move forward to the next. Each week, throughout the week, like I mentioned before, I'm definitely going to send follow-up messages, check in with you. One of the things you want to be held accountable on is your night walks. And then also, yeah, well, I know one of them will be your nightly walk. So there'll be a follow-up message on that. And then, we'll definitely continue to hold ourselves accountable in this space. Homework. Homework is always going to be given. So one of your homeworks that I want you to do is I want you to pick. Oh, you ready?
yeah.
Okay. I want you to focus on one area for the week. Either it's going to be, structuring your day or tracking your emotional triggers.
Okay.
Definitely, complete your the daily prompts in the workbook, the morning and the evenings, for at a minimum of 3 days. And then reflect on the prompt number 2, where it says, when do my emotions take over instead of me leading? So
Okay.
in order to understand more about emotional leadership, you got to understand, when do I lose those emotions? When do I, when do I allow them to take over versus me taking over them? So those are the 2 times there. And what I want from you that I'm challenging you on is, today is Wednesday. Before our next session, I want you to shoot me over one win and one challenge during the week. I
Okay.
want you to process one win and one challenge. This is something that I want to do every single week. I want you to give me a list of what was one win that I had and what was one challenge that I had. Because once again, it's important to process areas that we're moving forward on. it's important to process areas that we need work towards. So, you know, once again, I don't feel like, and I really want you to hear this. Like, this life coaching is not about changing you. You know, you're a great guy, and I want you to, you know, sit in that. You're a great guy. You have a good heart. Is it layered with, you know, trauma and different things, accounts that happen in your life that has caused you to feel, you know, certain spaces? Yes, absolutely. But this journey is to help showing you, you know, help give light on the things that you're doing well in ways that you can move, show up more fully for yourself so that you can see the greatness in you, and so that you can continue to pour that into others. So we don't have to figure it all out today, but this is the start of a good journey, man. I'm definitely excited, man. So that's what I got for you today, man. How you feeling overall?
Well, I feel good. I feel good. I mean, it's hard for me to accept that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
no, I feel good, man. I really feel like one of the best decisions I made is hooking up with you and doing this. So I appreciate you. I really
absolutely,
do.
bro. Absolutely, man. So, but that's all we got for today, man. And like I mentioned before, what I do is I'm gonna shoot you a message with everything, and we can go ahead on and get everything moving forward.